those tires. Hit your marks and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, and Formula E racing talk. This is the fastest hour in radio.
He's going to do it. He's going to win the race and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship. California's Kevin Harvick does it. Holy cow! Chase Elliott is going to become the NASCAR Nationwide Series champion for 2014.
For the second in a row, Matt Crafton is the Camping World Truck Series champion.
3 times he has been denied an IndyCar championship. Well, not anymore. Will Power is an IndyCar champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 2014 FIA Formula One World Champion, Lewis Hamilton.
Here's your host, Steve West and Justin Harbour.
Welcome back to another week of the fastest hour in radio here at Superstation 101 WIDE. 90 minutes making up this version of the fastest hour in radio, and we have an in-studio guest as well, Jay Schiller from Talladega Short Track. How are you?
Pretty good. Glad to be here. How about y'all?
Hey, we're always happy to be here because we get to talk about racing for 90 minutes.
I love that I get paid for this.
It's amazing, isn't it?
How do y'all do that?
It took a lot of work and a lot of convincing. It really did.
Y'all accepting applications?
Sure.
Hey, we're always
accepting applications. Whether I do anything with them or not, I don't know.
The show has grown. We have John now.
That's right. John, officially a part of the show. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great.
Yeah? Came out of the fog, I hear.
Oh, yeah, it was hellacious.
Yeah, some places in northern Alabama, so be careful if you're out and about. You may end up running across or through some fog as the time goes by. So plenty to get to today, including a video that just popped up within the past, 12 to 15 hours or so, something like that?
Yeah, and it's already being sent to us as well. Kenneth Hicks just sent it over to us.
Oh, I'm sure.
I told him, so we're going to be talking about that.
Absolutely. We have plans to talk about the video involving a former champion, actually a former multiple-time champion in the NASCAR Sprint Cup series. But first things first, we're going to be dealing with every single series that we cover here. Granted, there's only one bit of Formula E news, but we'll give it to you. We got NHRA, Formula One, actually quite a bit there. As a matter of fact, Jean Todt, who is the FIA president, and that's the governing body over Formula One, he got to talking about two things, engines and Michael Schumacher. So Colt Reese from a little bit of R&R Barbecue. Stay close. Also got IndyCar coming up, and all three series, all the top 3 levels of NASCAR we're going to be talking about. And that's where we are going to start right here. 2016 NASCAR Sprint Cup season will officially kick off with the non-points event that we're all familiar with, the 75-lap Sprint Unlimited, as we now call it. Bud Shootout, whatever it used to be called.
I still like the Bud Shootout.
Now it's the Sprint Unlimited. I don't know whether that's going to change after Sprint decides to remove themselves as a title sponsor after this year.
Yeah, that's
something we haven't found out about yet, but all in due time. The 2016 field, we have found out, is going to be comprised of 25 drivers when it takes place on Saturday evening, February the 13th, so we have less than a month to go.
I know, I'm so excited. It needs to get here now.
Yep, Daytona International Speedway, obviously the place. The field will be made up of the 2015 Coors Light Pole Award winners, so that counts for 12 of your entrants. 2 former Sprint Unlimited winners are going to be involved in that. 5 former Daytona 500 Coors Light Pole winners. 4 drivers who made the 2015 chase for the Sprint Cup, and 2 other drivers who didn't make the chase, but they were the highest in regular season points. I'm not going to give you the full rundown, but we'll give you some highlights. Among the drivers who did not claim a pole position in 2015, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart, they're in. 2 former Unlimited winners. The former Daytona pole winners are Greg Biffle, Austin Dillon, Danica Patrick among the 5. Eric Almirola and Kyle Larson also going to be included in there. Jeff Gordon is actually eligible to race in this event, but he hasn't said whether he will or not. It does seem unlikely since he's slated to be in the broadcast booth for Fox Sports as they televise the event, so that means likely at least one of the 5 provisional drivers will get in. Those provisional drivers include Casey Mears, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Trevor Bayne. I also found out another unlikely source. Of the 5 drivers that are listed as provisional, that if enough people dropped out, they are eligible, Sam Hornish Jr., I don't think you'll get a ride.
I don't see that happening.
No.
He's on the outside looking in. We posted that on the page, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, he was let go from Richard Petty Motorsports, and that's who we're talking about right now. Yep. Made wholesale changes to one of their cars leading up to the 2016 season. Things looking fine at the 43. Eric Almirola still there. Sponsorship is fine. No problems there. The 9 car has been pretty much uncertain, well, since Marcus Ambrose announced he would be quitting NASCAR after the 2014 season. RPM scrambled. They put Sam Hornish Jr. behind the wheel of the 9 for 2015, but after the end of the season, they removed him. A very disappointing season for him, by the way. And now the 9 is actually no longer. RPM has announced they're changing the number to 44, which is a well-known number in the Petty family. Petty put out a press release, said that his father, who started using the number 42 when he got his own car in the sport, led Richard into the sport later. He decided to just go with the 43. Then when Maurice Petty began racing, he would use various numbers, but all of them related to the Petty family number set, so he'd run anything from 41 to 44 in his time behind the wheel. Kyle Petty famously ran the number 44, Adam Petty driving the number 45 before his untimely death. So now with Brian Scott coming up to Richard Petty Motorsports in 2016, he's going to bring back the number 44 for him. Sponsorship coming from Twisted Tea Hard Lemonade.
Help me out here real quick.
Okay,
because I did get a chance to briefly look at this.
Yes.
Are we going to be discussing the 9? Because I heard something.
We can.
I heard something.
All right, bring it.
Okay, I heard that there is a slight possibility, and this would be really cool to see.
I'm thinking Chase Elliott's coming involved.
That Chase Elliott, after this first year with the 24, that they could be possibly taking the 9 and putting it on his car.
All I know is that at this point in time, they don't have any immediate plans.
Yeah, see, I just kind of heard some...
That does leave that opening.
Yeah, I heard some scuttlebutt.
Yeah, that does leave that opening to where it could happen a little bit later on, but let's put it this way. It's not going to happen this year.
Yeah, definitely not this year. But it would be really cool to see if they're able to do that for next season.
It would be cool to see it, but it would also be very odd. And I know that it's the number that we associate so much with Jeff Gordon, but wouldn't it be so odd to not see the 24 on the track?
It would be, but it kind of makes a little sense to me because, for those of us who play games on our phone,
right.
the game, the NASCAR game.
Yes.
If you look at the game and you're racing, guess who you're racing against? It's Elliott Sadler. Elliott Sadler. Wow. Chase Elliott. We did that a couple weeks ago. Chase Elliott, and he's in the 9.
Yes.
So that just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
See, they even knew.
So what are they going to do? Retire the 24?
Well, I think the number would stick. It's kind of like what Richard Childress Racing had when they had the 3-car after the death of Dale Earnhardt, and he just kind of shelved it, and NASCAR just always kind of considered it to be an RCR car or car number. I think it would be NASCAR would consider the 24 to always be a Hendrick number unless they decided to get rid of it, and then it would be up to Rick Hendrick to decide what he wants to do with it or whether he wanted to just keep it up on the shelf.
That's like Earnhardt with 8.
Yeah, there's that also.
But see, if Rick Hendrick actually put somebody else into the car, into the 24, it would probably be somebody that actually would do something with it.
You don't think Chase Elliott can do anything with the 24?
No. That was my subtle jab at Austin Dillon. It's coming. Danica, she's already out there. I could have said something there, but...
Yeah, but she's not driving any one of those iconic numbers.
That's right. She's not going to ever drive an iconic number. But no, I mean, seriously, that's the thing you got to look at is... If Rick Hendrick actually was going to pick somebody, he'd pick somebody with good caliber.
What are you thinking over there, John? You're shaking your head.
You mentioned Danica, and you said she's in the upcoming race, right?
She is slated to be in the Sprint Unlimited, yes.
I'm going to have to watch it.
She's not going to be in it long.
It's going to be an exciting
for the Carnage.
race.
For the Carnage.
Yeah.
It's going to be an exciting race, at least for the first 10 laps.
Well, here's the thing. If we put Danica Patrick right next to Austin Dillon, there's going to be bent sheet metal.
That's true.
We know that. So if you tune into NASCAR racing, especially at the restrictor plate tracks, just for the wrecks, what you're hoping for is Austin Dillon and Danica Patrick to start next to each other or one right behind the other.
Finish them off, and then we can have a great race.
And then we can move on for the rest of the 73 laps.
Well, they won't start on the pole, so...
Yeah,
well, we said that, but Danica Patrick, she did grab that pole in her rookie year, which was just so
did
weird.
Austin Dillon, so
it's just so weird.
It is very weird. This year, I am going to do something this year, though.
What?
I'm going to waste some money. I'm going to buy a Danica Patrick raced version car. We saw him at Talladega Superspeedway. We saw him at the flea market.
We saw him at the flea market.
I'm buying one. Somebody has actually taken her cars and destroyed them.
Oh, yeah.
So they actually look like
they buy the die-cast cars, and then it looks like one that she wrecked.
I'm buying one. Just to say that I have one.
Go Daddy.
Yes. Well, you can't really see GoDaddy anymore on it.
There are some. If you
go
got the right one, you
go
could.
at it.
Yeah. If you got the right one, you could add it.
That's possible.
Yeah. So when you get it, by the way, we need pictures, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that.
But y'all don't talk about the numbers though. Anybody that's drove like a previous number, say like Austin Dillon in the 3-car, he's got a lot to look up for. Look at Chase Elliott, the 24 car.
Oh yeah.
Look at Joey Logano when he jumped in the 20 car.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's pressure to it, and what were we talking? We were talking about this earlier this week after on Yellowhammer Radio. and you think about trying to follow somebody who has set a precedent in a sport, at some point in time, and you're wearing your Alabama hat, okay, and I'm an Alabama fan. You're a Florida State fan, so you don't matter.
What?
I'm kidding. You actually had to deal with this as well, or in the case of Jimbo Fisher, had to deal with it. Following a legend, Bobby Bowden.
Yes.
Following a legend in Bear Bryant, Ray Perkins. He got to talking recently, and he was one of the few guys who was willing to take on that kind of a role, because it is something that is a very difficult thing to do, is following somebody who set such a high precedent, a high bar in their particular sport.
Right.
In the case of Bear Bryant, it was Ray Perkins. In the case of Nick Saban, we don't know who it might be, although there's a guy over on the other side of the national championship field who has ties to Alabama who has said that he would be willing to come back. Would he do it after Nick Saban? We don't know. Now you take it into the NASCAR level. Who do you get to follow in the 3-car? We've had a long time between the time that Dale Earnhardt Sr. died and then Austin Dillon took over the car. In this case, Chase Elliott almost has even more pressure under him, because we don't have any lag time between when Jeff Gordon steps out of the 24 and Chase Elliott gets into it. And on top of that, Jeff Gordon, in his final year, wins a race, qualifies for the chase for the Sprint Cup, and takes it all the way to the end. Yeah. He was in contention for the title in that last race. There is a lot to live up to. Number one, because he's stepping into a car with a 4-time champion, and number two, he's the son of a man who claimed a Cup championship and still holds the record for the all-time fastest qualifying effort at Talladega Superspeedway.
Wins $1 million.
He to me, the difference between Chase Elliott and Austin Dillon is the fact that Austin, we have now seen that he can't handle the pressure.
He doesn't seem to be able to, no.
He doesn't have what it takes to get the job done. He's not able to wheel the car. He's not anywhere in regards to even amounting anything to do with that 3. Chase Elliott, and I'm just going to jump out and say this, Chase Elliott comes across to me as somebody who can, A, handle the pressure because of the pedigree coming from Bill Elliott, you know, and I think he could go into that. He's going to go into that 24 this year. I think we're going to see something good out of him. I see a good season, not a spectacular season for Chase Elliott,
no.
but I see a season that's going to be a really good one to build off of with momentum.
Chase Elliott comes in with a dad who I think can keep him grounded.
Yes.
I think that's what's going to keep Jeb Burton pretty level-headed as well. He's got not only his dad, Ward Burton, but he's got his uncle, Jeff Burton, to kind of keep him grounded.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon is, he's being doted on by his grandfather.
Well, here's the
problem. And we
problem.
all know about grandparents and their grandchildren. They're going to dote on them. And in this case, Richard Childress moved up Austin, and he's moving Ty Dillon up in the same way, in a rapid-fire manner.
Mm-hmm.
Chase Elliott at least proved he could go in and do it. He won Rookie of the Year and a championship in his first year, and he was in title contention in his second year. He has the pedigree.
Yeah.
Austin Dillon didn't do that. He was in contention, yeah, but he never won the championship, and I don't think he's won a Rookie of the Year, has he?
I don't think so, no.
So he hasn't shown quite that ability. Can he wheel a car? He can, but he's mid-pack at best.
Yeah, he's definitely mid-pack. The problem, and you shot off a couple of, one name, Jeb Burton. Look at who that comes from. You got Chase Elliott, of course. But if you look at the difference between them and Austin Dillon and the Dillon brothers in general, is the fact that they stroke the Dillon brothers' ego. They make them feel like they're better than they are.
Yeah,
and somebody just basically needs to kind of, here's reality.
They need to be humbled a little bit and understand this is not something that you can just jump into a car. You and I talk about wanting to jump into a car at any point in time.
Yeah,
but
I'm not going to go out there and win a race.
If you and I jumped into a car right now and Jay Schiller jumped in the car, he would torch us in an 8-lap race.
I'm like, did Jay just pass us again?
When I lived out in North Carolina, I've been around Ty and Austin Dillon both when I was younger. At Bowman Grove Speedway, Carrollton Speedway. Gastonia on between dirt, asphalt, all. Great kids, but it's like you said, I don't think they had the same childhood as Chase did. Chase would work on the car, where I've seen Ty and Austin get out of the car, and they just walk off somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Where Chase would be there working on the car.
Chase is working on the car.
He can give you that feedback to what you're going to need.
And then there's this way of looking at it, as my wife sends me a text listening as she's heading on to work. In reference to Austin Dillon. You ready for this?
This is going to be.
So he's the Obama of racing. He's being promoted, but hasn't shown he can do the job.
I love Karen. That's awesome. That's perfect. Bumper sticker.
But me, I think Ty's going to be a better driver than Austin.
I think Ty is a little bit more. He's a lot more grounded than his brother.
And he's more cockier.
He is, but I think also he's gotten one thing that Austin really never has. He's been humbled a little. because he wanted so bad, and you and I talked about this, he wanted so bad, felt like he was ready for Sprint Cup racing. Richard Childress didn't find him a car.
But on the Austin side, Austin was like, I'm ready, here's a car.
Yeah.
But you know what? Also
Ty's being told, sit your butt down in the Xfinity series and you wait.
He's been told. So it's not like that ego's been stroked at the moment. It's kind of like, look, you're not ready for this yet.
Yeah.
So I run modifieds, open modifieds with them. And I say it was 2010.
Okay.
That Ty drove his first super late model race at Talladega Short Track on dirt. And finished third. This part right beside me, I'll never forget it. He come in so happy sideways, he ran over Clint Boyer on the golf cart. I'll never forget it.
Oops. Well, and all the talk about Hendrick Motorsports, they recently also announced that one of their company's racing sponsors is going to shift from one of their cars in the stable over to another. Panasonic Tough Book, which has been a longtime sponsor of the organization and has been featured on the 24 for about a decade now. With the retirement of Jeff Gordon, Panasonic decided to shift over to the 5 car of Casey Kane. At this time, it is known the company is going to be the primary sponsor for 2 2016 races. They'll be Atlanta, second race of the season, and Dover in October. Hendrick Motorsports also announced Friday they've signed PepsiCo to a 3-year sponsorship extension. So as of this year, it dates back 15 years. Hard to believe that. Newest phase of the sponsorship deal keeps Mountain Dew as one of Dale Earnhardt's primary sponsors, also adding drivers Casey Kane and Chase Elliott into their stable. They're going to appear as primary sponsors on those 2 cars for a select number of events over the next 3 years. The breakdown is this. Mountain Dew will be on the hood as primary sponsor of the 88 for 3 unannounced events. They're going to be on the 24 of Chase Elliott for 2 unannounced events and 1 on the hood of the 5 car for, again, an unannounced event. All the 3 cars are going to have the Drinkin' as an associate sponsor for the entirety of the deal. As for former Hendrick Motorsports driver Jeff Gordon, he is set to begin the next phase of his racing career, broadcasting. He'll actually be joining the Fox NFL Sunday crew in their Los Angeles studios as we air live on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. until 8:30. It'll be tomorrow morning, Sunday morning. Host Kurt Menefee, along with former coach Jimmy Johnson, not to be confused with the driver Jimmy Johnson. Also former NFL players Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long, and Michael Strahan, who is everywhere these days. The NFL crew going to be wearing custom-made NASCAR fire suits for the occasion, and during the broadcast of that pregame show, the Fox Network will debut their 2016 Daytona 500 promo as well.
I like it.
Yeah, I'll be watching.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And it's going to be great.
As I sit here wearing a Patriots jersey. Scott Motorsports has confirmed what leaked out on Twitter last month. I don't know why they waited a month to confirm what leaked out on Twitter.
Well, they had to think about it.
Legalities.
I guess.
How do we want to approach this?
Pardon?
Legalities.
Well, you might be right.
That's possible.
Their 1-year deal with Clint Boyer is going to be him driving the number 15 car, not the 51. The team also confirmed they're going to remain a 2-car team. They dropped Justin Allgaier from the 51, but they're keeping Michael Annett, and they're going to keep the number 46 for him in the 2016 season. In addition, the team has new headquarters. They moved out of their Spartanburg, South Carolina shop up to Mooresville, North Carolina. It actually gives them more room. They now have about 50,000 square feet of shop space. It also puts them closer to the majority of the other race teams, and that includes Hendrick Motorsports and Stewart-Haas Racing. Those are the 2 teams that they're most closely associated with.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they get their equipment from Hendrick Motorsports. Clint Boyer effectively is on a 1-year deal. Tony Stewart in his final year, and then Clint Boyer takes over what we assume is going to be the 14. But then again, that becomes another question. Does Tony Stewart decide, you know what, I want to keep the 14 for myself? The 15 will be open.
That's true too. I don't know. I don't see Tony doing that.
I don't see that either, because Tony wanted the 14 because it was an honorarium to his hero AJ Foyt.
Right. Yeah.
So I think he'll probably keep the 14, but it'll be odd not to see Tony in it, I guess. Is probably the better way to look at it.
Well, then the other thing is the fact that, he basically handpicked Clint Boyer to succeed him in that car. So he's got to feel that Clint Boyer can rise to the occasion. Of course, we know Clint can. Now that he's getting back in a bow tie.
Yeah, we've seen it before.
I see him doing well in the 14. Of course, Tony's got to see him doing well at that 14. He handpicked him.
Well,
Clint's got a dirt background.
Yeah,
that's true. So yeah, you could probably dirt track the car easily.
Oh yeah, it's already set up for him. Tony's been running it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get back to Tony in a second. Front Row Motorsports has announced they have re-signed a longtime sponsor. Love's Truck Stops are going to be the primary sponsor for rookie Chris Buescher. on the 34 for 18 events in 2016. Extension means a continuance of that sponsorship deal. It began 3 years ago. They'll be on the hood for 3 known events, the Daytona 500 and both Texas Motor Speedway races. You might ask why those two? It's actually the closest events to their home office in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I didn't realize they were in Oklahoma City, based out of there, until last night when I read the report.
I didn't know till you just told me.
Team Penske has announced a sponsor extension with their longtime associate sponsor, Auto Trader. Company's going to step up in 2016 to become primary sponsor for both drivers Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. Each driver going to have multiple starts with the sponsor on the hood as primary. The deal is described as a multi-year deal, but otherwise we don't know what happened. All right, here we go. Tony Stewart.
There we go.
Dude's wearing my jacket.
Yeah, I know. I kind of feel out of place.
It's funny. You go and you get these race jackets. You can get them from Chase Authentics, and they look like the driver uniforms.
Yeah, the J&J design.
You know, and Bass Pro Shops and Mobile One have been the past couple of years. A few years ago, about 3 years ago, his 2 primary sponsors were Old Spice and Office Depot. Well, I saw both of them, and I wasn't as big a fan of the look of the Office Depot jacket. I don't mind red, but it just didn't really catch me as being as good-looking as the Old Spice jacket, which is black with the silver writing and all that kind of stuff.
Red's not your color? Unless it's
more his color.
Unless it's a red Patriots jersey, right?
I do have one of those.
See?
But I prefer the blue.
Oh, okay.
That said, in looking at it, it's just I like that jacket a whole heck of a lot more.
Right.
You know, it's just personal feelings about it. Now I don't know what the heck I'm going to do when it comes to Tony Stewart.
When he was at Home Depot, you opened my closet, it was like orange.
Oh, trust me. My wife could tell you stories, and she would say it in probably not the most friendly of
Better
fashions.
be careful. Pick up that phone.
I know she will. That's the thing. I know she would. She'll do it in a heartbeat.
They wouldn't be stories so much as reciting facts.
Well, that's true, too. That's true. It is. It's
John's on it this morning.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing.
Points.
You two have both been in the man cave. You know what it looks like.
Yes, I was surrounded by...
And my wife is looking at it and going, dang it. Anyway, last week we got to talking with some people in and around the pits at the Ice Bowl, and a couple of them mentioned Tony Stewart's possible plans. Well, it turns out Tony himself got to talking about it this past week. Mm-hmm. And his final in Sprint Cup Series racing is only going to be his final in Sprint Cup Series racing. He's not going to stop racing, as he said in a press conference announcing he would be leaving Sprint Cup. Instead, as he was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he's helping organizers with the track. He's actually sitting there getting on a tractor and helping grade the track.
I know, that was the greatest thing. I've seen so many pictures of people posting, look, Tony does work. Yeah, and?
But this year, not racing in that event. He won it twice, 2002 and 2007, but he said he is planning on getting back into dirt track racing in 2017 and is continuing to build his investments in tracks and other racing-related businesses. So if you are, like I am, and Jay Schiller is, a Tony Stewart fan, he may not be in NASCAR, but he is going to be in racing, and who knows where he will actually pop up.
Sweet.
We have seen him on several occasions going out there watching the racing at Talladega Short Track. Yeah. Could he actually decide to get behind the wheel at a Talladega Short Track?
He's been out there a few times.
Yeah. So, you know, again, you never know where he's going to pop up.
Steve will be checked out that night. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm in. I'm in.
Tony's on track. Leave me alone.
Yeah, shut up. Phone's on mute and everything else. That said, speaking of the Chili Bowl, we had a video that just popped up and came to our attention. Do you want to describe it?
No, I'll let you. You're the Tony fan.
Okay. Apparently a fan, more than likely a little bit inebriated.
Probably.
If not a lot inebriated. Decided that in seeing Tony Stewart walking around that he was going to throw a few choice words, which probably included a couple of colorful words, and actually gave him a single middle finger salute, to which Tony Stewart decided to confront him. Mm-hmm. Now, to Tony Stewart's credit, it wasn't like he walked up to him and smacked him right in the face.
Which he could have.
He could have. He grabbed him by the shirt and started asking questions like, hey, what's your problem? And the guy's just got eyes as big as his beer
He wasn't
bottles.
expecting Tony to be there, to say anything to him.
So this, you had mentioned, Jay, in watching the video that you thought this is lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yes.
Why? Was there enough there, and you saw the video, was there enough there for you to think that assault is something that could actually be something that'll stick, a charge that'll stick?
I don't see it, but I see somebody trying it.
Maybe. I don't think this guy will. There's too much video. We've seen video from a few rows back, 3-4 rows back.
Yeah.
And then another video that I just saw was literally right next to it. It was like 4 feet from Tony Stewart looking straight on.
Yeah.
All the guy did was grab the guy's shirt. It was actually security that shoved the man back down into his seat.
Yeah, if you want to see the videos, if you haven't gotten a chance to see them, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/thefastesthour-in-radio. We got both of the videos from both angles sitting right up there. Tell us what you think.
Yeah. And this guy, I think, once he finally sobers up, realizes that, common
He's probably in
sense
the
should have taken a better part.
wrong, and that doesn't mean go out to your tracks and, if you really want to see your favorite driver, just go out there and say something to him, and he's going to come up and say hi.
Not necessarily.
It's not going to happen.
No,
I don't believe
not.
hi was one of the few choice
Yeah,
words.
no,
that Tony
well,
used.
Probably not.
Just remind him he was number one is all he's doing.
Yes, with a certain fingered salute.
John, I was trying to keep it PG-13 or PG.
We're
at
doing
that-
our best.
At best,
We're doing.
He
our
was
best.
saying hi. He's like, hi.
Yeah, exactly. One more note here, and then we got to take a break. And this deals with your favorite guy, Voldemort, defending champion Kyle Busch.
Great.
He's also talking about 2016. Said he's going to test out his injured legs in a race before the Sprint Cup season gets underway. Stated he feels healthy enough to try out his surgically repaired legs in the Champion Racing Association Speedfest main event. Takes place January 31st at a little 3/8 mile paved oval in Cordell, Georgia. It's named Crisp Motorsports Park. You familiar with that, Jay, by any chance? No? Okay. It's an event, by the way, Kyle Busch has won 3 times previously, 09, 10, and again in 12. And I mentioned this because Kyle Busch recently, around December 15th or so, underwent more surgery on those because he was removing the plates and the screws for his surgically repaired ankle and leg. So this is kind of a test for him.
Can I just toss this out there?
Real quick.
What happened last year when he wasn't racing in his series at the beginning of the season?
He actually kind of got centered.
He got really... No. As in Daytona last year.
Oh.
Okay.
Going off and doing stuff
yes.
other than his primary
Racing
job.
outside of your primary job. What happened?
Resulted in a broken leg and a broken ankle.
So do we really need to test the theory? Why don't we just wait till February and see what happens then?
Kyle Busch, he's going to do what he wants to do.
Apparently.
When we come back, we go from Voldemort into such fantastic news.
Yes.
If you were listening to the Entertainment Roundtable, you heard us talking about a couple of actors who passed away, both of them due to cancer. David Bowie, of course, earlier this week passed away due to cancer. We have been talking about one person and his girlfriend specifically who's been dealing with cancer, but great news. You'll hear about it when we come back.
You're listening to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Tony Stewart wins the Cobalt Tools 400.
This is Tony Stewart here to tell you about a way veterans and service members can get on the fast track to well-deserved benefits. It's called eBenefits, a website created by VA and DoD that gives veterans, service members, and families instant access to more than 40 benefits and services. It's a way to serve those who have served us. To get started, just go to www.ebenefits.va.gov or just do a search for VA eBenefits.
Brought to you by the Department of Veterans Affairs. The new year is all about starting fresh and with a clean slate. How about this be the year you finally put down cigarettes completely? With Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City, you can do just that. You know you've quit at the end of every cigarette, so let Wild Vapors show you how with vaping. Owners Eddie and Shelley were former smokers themselves. They started Wild Vapors because they knew they wanted to help others lay down cigarettes as well, with their own special brand formula that will help you gradually reduce your nicotine intake to eventually none at all. Their signature formula is mixed in an off-site cleanroom facility with using only the highest quality USP ingredients and leaving out artificial sweeteners and other unnecessary chemicals. Eddie and Shelley have your solution to finally laying down cigarettes. Join the 1,000 others who have found the freedom from smoking with Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City. Give them a call at 256-369-2569 or stop by one of their 2 locations in Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
Back to green flag action on the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Welcome back in, listening to the fastest hour in radio, Superstation 101 WIDE. Don't forget about the replays. An hour of the 90 minutes will be replayed from 8 to 9 p.m. tonight, and then tomorrow morning, 8:30 to 9:30, and then the last half hour from 10:30 to 11. You can be a part of the show, 941-1011, or toll free at 866-551-9910. 9933. So if you're listening to the Entertainment Roundtable, at the very end of the show, we mentioned 2 actors passing away. And, of course, earlier this week, we heard about legendary singer David Bowie, Space Oddity, Changes, Fame, so many more songs. He passes away due to cancer, age 69. We learn middle of the week, Thursday, actor Alan Rickman, probably best known as Hans Gruber from Die Hard, best Christmas movie of all time, by the way.
You know how I remember him?
How do you remember him?
Metatron.
Metatron, he was that. He was also, let's see, good grief, he was the sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yes.
Quite frankly, stole the movie because Kevin Costner couldn't keep an English accent to save his life.
Yes, that's true.
And well, many others. Obviously, Severus Snape from Harry Potter, but stage and screen. And then also we found out that the man who played Grizzly Adams, Dan Haggerty, passes away. Cancer at the age of 74. Cancer sucks. But good news. Martin Truex Jr. and his longtime girlfriend, Sherry Pollux, got some very good news. Pollux completed her chemotherapy treatments for her cancer after having been diagnosed with ovarian cancer in August of 2014. Pollux took to Twitter in celebration, saying, quote, "Thank you," to NASCAR's own tweet congratulating her on making it through the regiment. She also continued in another posting saying, quote, "The greatest gift is a life-threatening disease. The greatest gift a life-threatening disease can give us is the gift of learning to live, to savor every moment and have no regrets. Go do that." She then added that she had gotten some sage advice from someone who had just lost his own life to cancer back in 2015. That Fox Sports host Steve Burns, who tweeted out, quote, "Thank you so much for all the encouraging messages. Now I'm going to be present, like at Steve Burns 12 told me to do with my amazing family." Now, me personally, I lost my mother-in-law in 2004, my father in 2008 to cancer. I first of all say to Sherry, congratulations, and second, again, and can't say it enough, cancer sucks. We've all been affected by this in some way, shape, or form. We all know somebody who has been affected by cancer.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I have somebody that has affected by it, beat it.
Right.
Jeannie, she had cervical cancer.
Okay.
So, I mean, but she was able to get past that.
Yeah.
But everybody, if you sit there and you stop and you think for a second, even if you don't remember right there immediately, somebody in your family has been affected by it, or somebody that has been personally affected by it. It personally affects each and every one of us in some way, shape, or form.
That it does. And that said, it does bring up the idea of how to lessen your chances of contracting cancer. And if you happen to be a smoker, that's one of your worst ways when it comes to it. And I thankfully was able to lay him down a long time ago. I know that you finally have been able to do that as well. John is in that process. And it's all through the help of great friends of ours and great sponsors of ours, Wild Vapors.
That's right. If you have made the choice, as a matter of fact, not only have I decided, and made the choice and did it, and John has made the choice, now Jay's jumping on board because he's going to be joining the club here in a few, where he's going to be able to start counting those months. If you want to count the months too, you made that New Year's resolution, it's not too late. If you made the New Year's resolution, you kind of fell back on it, revert yourself. Go back into it again, and you could do it with Wild Vapors. Stop by and see our good friends Eddie and Shelly Bowman down at Wild Vapors in Sylacauga in the Walmart Shopping Center, or you can find them in Alexander City, just up the street from the Central Alabama Community College. Stop in there today. Talk to them about what you need to do to put down the cigarettes and go to something that's a lot better for you, something that's actually helped me out tremendously. It's gained myself friends. It's gained us here at the show friends, but it's also gained me a lot of knowledge, and a lot of knowledge of stuff that I didn't know before that I was putting into my body that was hurting me. If you don't want to deal with sucralose, and you don't want to deal with dicetyl, and you don't want to deal with aspartame, then you need to stop by and see our good friends down at Wild Vapors and talk to them today. Put down the cigarettes, pick up the vaping.
You seemed a little confused when he started throwing out all those words there, Jay.
I didn't know there was that much stuff going in my body.
Well, actually, there are in every puff of a cigarette, there are 7,000 chemicals going into your body. And just a few to mention, you've got rat poison, you've got asphalt, which,
tar.
The tar part. You've got there's so many.
Yeah,
there's so many things.
And when it comes to tobacco, there are artificial sweeteners in there.
Yes.
Okay. There's the same thing, and we've talked about this before in those juices as well. If you go out and you just do it to rapid fire, get it out there, and that's what a lot of these big chain stores do.
Yeah.
They're going out there rapid fire, getting it out there because they want to have the sweetened flavors. Here's the thing: you don't get that at Wild Vapors.
No, you do not get that. They basically, Eddie and Shelly, what they have done is they've been doing this for 3 years now. The reason that they started this business is because of the fact of they found out what was going into these juices that these people were putting out there. You go into a store, they don't know what's in their juice. You ask them a question, they just look at you like they have no idea what you're talking about. But you walk into Wild Vapors and you say, is there sucralose in your juice? There is no sucralose in our juice. She can prove it. She can show it. She's got all that because she doesn't want those things in there. Those are the things that are harmful. If you're going to put down one harmful thing, you don't want to pick up another harmful thing.
Absolutely.
A lot of misconstrued information. Give them a call today, 256-369-2569. Visit them on Facebook.com/wild.vapors.5 today. But the best thing you do, put cigarettes down, go to vaping.
There you go.
If
That's why
you
we
think
talk
you
about
know
vaping.
everything about vaping,
you're wrong.
Talk to Shelly for 10 seconds, and you'll be stunned in silence.
Yes.
Sure, absolutely. Back into the racing here, a gentleman by the name of Ray Black. He actually ran last year in the Camping World Truck Series, finished 11th in final season points. That apparently impressed SS Greenlight Racing enough that they've actually moved him up. They're going to expand their own Xfinity Series efforts and bring Ray Black up with them. While he came close to a top 10 points results in the truck campaign, he only claimed one top 10 finish. That tells me he knows how to finish in a consistent manner. Even if it wasn't top 10 as far as points or only getting one top 10, to be able to finish 11th in season points, you're consistent, right?
Yeah.
And that's what SS Greenlight Racing likes about him. The one top 10 finish, by the way, 2015 season opener at Daytona, where he finished 5th. He has only one Xfinity Series green flag that took place last fall at Texas Motor Speedway. But SS Greenlight Racing and Ray Black, neither one of them have a whole lot of Xfinity Series experience, so this will be both of their first full-time series seasons in that series. So we wish them the best. I hope that things go well with them.
I think it will. I think once he gets his feet underneath him, gets himself situated, gets comfy, I think it should be decent.
Well, and that should also be said of SS Greenlight Racing.
Yes.
I mean, they're going from a situation where they've been running trucks to running cars. It's a different animal.
Yeah, they're making that step.
So, be prepared for it. Speaking of Xfinity Series operations, RCR, Richard Childress Racing, it's now effectively a Menards operation. Reports out of RCR state that Menards, which sponsors driver Paul Menard in the number 27 Chevrolet SS Sprint Cup Series entry, they're also going to sponsor the number 2 and number 33 Chevy Camaros in the Xfinity Series. They're going to be driven by Paul Menard and Brandon Jones, respectively. Menard, obviously, going to be running a part-time schedule in that 2 car because he's full-time in the Sprint Cup Series, but the 33 of Jones will be a full-time entry, and it's all sponsored by Menards. This is one of those rare occasions that you and I have been talking about here over the past, couple of years now. We rarely see a sponsor be on a car, much less 2, for an entire season.
Yeah, and I will say this about Menards. They are very, very consistent with their sponsorship.
Yes,
considering they sponsor Matt Crafton in the 88 over in the Truck Series.
Right.
Full-time. They've also got Paul Menard in the Cup Series. Yeah, they do throw in Pittsburgh Paints and a couple other ones.
It's associated with their
primarily before he
shop.
even went over there. It was full time Menards.
Yeah,
it's nice to toss in a couple other people when they run in the Xfinity Series. Menards, so they have a really good track record on consistency.
That's true. By the way, if you don't know what a Menards is the third largest home improvement warehouse store behind Home Depot and Lowe's. Now, we don't have a whole lot of them here in the Southeast.
I haven't never seen one.
I did. I've seen one.
Have you?
They're mostly up north.
Oh.
Yeah, I've
See,
seen
I'm from
one.
up north and I've never seen
got some
one.
friends of mine who live now just outside of Des Moines, Iowa. There's one not too far away from their house. I actually took the time to kind of roll through it.
Oh, okay. I haven't been to Iowa.
There's one in Nebraska, one in Indiana.
It's kind of more Midwest. It's not really Northeast. It's more Midwestern area of the country.
That's part of the country I haven't hit yet.
Well, that sounds like a you problem.
Big swath.
Let's see. JGL Racing is expanding their Xfinity Series operation. They've added driver Dakota Armstrong. He's going to pilot the number 28 Toyota Camry with support from Toyota Racing Development, and they will use Joe Gibbs Racing engines. The announcement of Armstrong in the car means J.J. Yaley will not be in the 28 next season, but they said that he could be back with the team at JGL. They're just not saying who else is going to drive for them because they will have 3 cars in addition to the 28. They will feature the numbers 26 and 24 as well, but they just haven't filled out their entire driver lineup yet.
You know, we've been sitting here talking about a couple of drivers and stuff like that.
By the way, we got a month to go. It's about time to figure out who's driving your car.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it a couple times too on that fact. We're starting to feel like it's NASCAR is becoming Formula One. We don't know who's going to be in there. The car's sitting on the grid. It's the first race, and we still don't know who the driver is.
Sure.
But the thing is a lot of drivers, we're seeing a lot of drivers that are starting to lose rides.
Absolutely.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
That we've seen and we've talked about, how long can this go on? How long can, before something happens? Are they going to start being able to put out? J.J. Yaley, he's there.
Yeah.
But that's it. He's there. He's there.
Yeah, he is. He came in with so much promise. He was the second guy ever after the aforementioned Tony Stewart to win the USAC Triple Crown, all 3 divisions in 1 year. And he's still only, I think, the second or the third driver to ever have done it.
Mm-hmm.
He came into NASCAR with so much promise, and he never lived up to it. And unfortunately, we've seen a whole lot of those stories. Casey
Casey Mears.
He wasn't the one I was thinking of.
Casey Atwood?
Atwood, thank you. I was thinking Atlee, and I don't know why.
One.
Yeah, Casey Atwood was another one. He came in very highly touted into the NASCAR, what is now the Sprint Cup Series. He just didn't live up to it. We've seen those times before, and J.J. Yaley, he's been consistent to be able to run every year in NASCAR, but he just never has really lived up to it and grabbed checkered flags and all the attention that everyone thought that he would.
Well, and this also goes to show that, performance. You have to perform now. You're only going to be given so much time to basically say whether or not you're worth the investment or not. And not saying that, guys like J.J. Yaley or Sam Hornish Jr. or David Reagan are not worth the investment. But the problem is there's nothing to show in the end.
Yeah.
And that's what we're starting to have a problem with.
Here's another odd way to look at this. You and I have been doing the show for quite a while now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 2016 now. Back in 2013... you and I were asked by somebody, and I don't remember whether it was on the air or through social media, but either way, you and I were asked, when is the next infusion of youth in NASCAR going to be taking place?
Yes.
2014, we saw 7 drivers competing for Rookie of the Year in the Sprint Cup Series. This is that continuation of that. We're seeing that turnover here, and while it's sad to see some of the names that we're seeing retire go away, at the same time, you wanted the infusion of youth. I got news for you. Here it is.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good to see this infusion coming into the sport. The past 2 stories we've talked about here on the air right here in the past couple minutes, look at the fact of Dakota Armstrong, another up-and-coming younger guy. You got, let's see, who did we talk about it a minute ago? That was Brandon Jones.
Yeah, Brandon
There's
Jones
another one.
in.
I mean, we've got this infusion. It's coming. And now these guys that have been there, it's either put up or shut up, because there's guys ready to take those seats.
Yep. Well, and we'll put it to the point of a racer here, Jay Schiller. In looking at this, and you're seeing some of those drivers go away that we've been so used to here over the last 15, 20 years, however long that it is. When we look at an Austin Dillon, we question how fast he was brought up. We kind of wonder a little bit about a Chase Elliott. While we're getting the youth infusion that we were wondering, from a racer's point of view, are they being moved up too fast?
I think so. I mean, I believe, in my point of view, me growing up, I believe everybody at races should know how to set that carpet themselves.
Okay.
The technology and the cars nowadays, I mean, Dustin can jump on and drive and win. I mean,
I feel better now.
I mean,
I'd like to see that proved.
I mean, my ability, my experience, I see. I mean, look at Daytona. I mean,
anybody can win at Daytona. We found that out, or Talladega. Yeah.
But the technology is so easier now. But you go back to the Richard Petty, the Cal Yarborough. You go back in the 70s,
sure,
where you got a 3,800-pound car, 4,000-pound car, where you don't have the safety equipment. You raced.
Right.
You worked on the car yourself during the week. Now, the kids now, they can't give the feedback. They just going by what the crew chief is telling them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so.
Yeah, being brought up a little bit too
so it's
fast.
more like a robot basically getting into the car, so to speak.
Well, here we go. Like I said, we asked for the youth movement, and there's the positives of it, obviously, because we're getting that new infusion here to keep the sport going, but there is the negative side of it, like he was talking about. These drivers, they don't know as much as the drivers used to know, because they, as you mentioned, they would get out of the car and they'd immediately start to work on the car. And we don't see that as much as we used to.
Well, no, and now with all the changes that we're seeing, especially on the NASCAR side of the house, we're seeing all the changes to the cars being done. It's being put back into the hands of the drivers now. The drivers are happy with the fact that it's not just get in and go and everybody's the same. They actually have to get in and do what they came up doing.
Sure.
So this youth infusion, is it going to be able to kind of be able to go both ways, considering the fact that they've come up a certain way?
Yeah.
They've been trained a little bit in the background. But now they have to kind of get back into that. Gives them a chance to really wheel the car.
That said, they are coming out with that new rules package this year. The
Yes.
lower aerodynamics here, where the driver is going to have to be much more involved in the car and
Yes.
how it is set up. They're going to have to know how to describe the feeling of the car out on the track. I think, and I'll ask you, but for me, that can only be a good thing. They get much more involved in the feel of the car and having to tell the crew chief, hey, listen, we need to fix this, we need to adjust this, we need to move that over, whatever. That's, I think, only going to be a good thing for this sport.
It's
correct?
safer. It's safer for them. It's safer for everybody else. But I said this 10 years ago. Way I seen NASCAR going 10 years ago, and it's that way. Look, you're having to run their gear, their package,
right,
their motor. They're going to fuel injection. They're going to Toyota. I see NASCAR. Maybe not, but this is what I see. NASCAR's going to get greedy here one day, and there's a handful of drivers going to show up. Cars will be sitting there. NASCAR's going to control the cars, the sponsor. You bring your crew chief, you bring your driver. They're going to point you a car.
NASCAR's talking about doing this franchise thing. Do you think that's the opening to that?
I believe so. I see this 10 years ago, and I believe that's where it's going to go.
We'll have to see whether that prediction comes true. Could be interesting to watch.
I believe it's going to go. It's kind of going to be like the ARCA series.
Okay.
They first your car.
I see where
you
you're
got a crew chief. You got a driver. You bring it. They point you a car.
That is interesting.
They handle all the franchise. They handle all the sponsors. They'll get the money.
Yeah. See, at that point in time, we get to spec series racing, and I'm not into that. That's going to hurt NASCAR a lot.
Look at the Neesmith on dirt. You're in their motors. You can't work on them. All you can do is adjust the valves.
Yeah.
That's all you do. You can't get into them. They're all sealed up. It's a great class. Economical, not expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But
is the only thing that's controlled in this the engine, though? I mean, you're building your own car, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the only thing that's controlled there is the engine, right?
And the Neesmith.
Okay. So in that case, you have some say in how the car handles, for example, correct?
Right. You can do your own handling, but you have to run their tire and their motor.
Okay.
If my class.
If you were to put that in a NASCAR example, I don't think that would work as well. Because, again, you're talking about exponentially a heck of a lot more money coming in from sponsorship, whether you're talking Lowe's or Home Depot or Dollar General or DuPont or Old Spice or Office Depot or the fastest hour in radio. Doesn't matter. If you're dealing with a sponsor, you're dealing with a much bigger paycheck or a much bigger check that's being handed out sponsor-wise. To run that kind of a series, to take the same rules and put them up in a NASCAR Sprint Cup series, how do you think the fans would react?
Be hard.
I think it would.
I think it'd be extremely hard.
Yeah, because you and I, we've talked to people on the phone, we've talked to people at the tracks that we have gone to, and they've all said, and we here have said, we miss the racing of the 1970s, the early 1980s, where granted they were shifting over to the roll cages at that point in time, but the cars that were on the track, at least they looked like the cars that you would go down to your local car dealership, whether you're a Chevy, Ford, whether you're a GM, a Ford, or a Dodge, or now a Toyota fan, they looked like the cars you were buying off the showroom floor. Nowadays, they don't look like the cars you buy off the showroom floor. They're doing better than the car of tomorrow. The Gen 6 does a better job, at least on the front end, but it's still not that car. It's not what we remember as stock car racing. These are specific engineered racers.
They might sell more if they build a two-door Camry.
Maybe.
They tried. It was called a Solara.
That's right.
As Robert Duvall said in Days of Thunder, there ain't nothing stock about a stock car.
It's like the quote of the year.
Yeah, well, it's the quote that NASCAR needs to have right underneath their logo.
You bring up a good point though. You talk about everybody talks about how they wish the race would be back in the back of the day. But there was something that was put online the other day, and it was the 1979 Daytona 500.
Yes,
of course, the infamous.
Yes, the one.
Yarborough and Allison on the backstretch fighting it out.
And Bobby says it every single time, and says it the exact same way that Cale Yarborough went to beating on my fist with his face.
Yes. Now they say that's the time where NASCAR was put into the spotlight right then and there, because that was on national TV.
Yeah, first ever live, fully televised event.
What has happened since then?
Oh, now
we've
TV's taken over.
This car of tomorrow. We've had all these other goofy changes and everything else, and now they're starting to slowly get back, but they're not going to. So it's kind of like
it's going way too slow.
It is. So that moment right there was the birth and also the issues.
Think about the 3 cars that we have in the Sprint Cup Series. Toyota Camry, aforementioned.
Yeah.
Ford Fusion.
Yes.
Chevrolet SS.
Yes.
The cars that are put out in NASCAR are front-engine, rear-wheel drive cars. Only one of the 3 cars that we mentioned is a front-engine, rear-wheel drive car, and that's the Chevy SS.
Right.
Okay? The others are front-wheel drive and don't even offer a V8.
So they're never going to be that.
Exactly. Now, granted, you can drop down. You can drop down to the secondary series. You drop down to the Xfinity series. Again, Toyota's running the Camry, but at least Ford's running a front-engine V8 rear-wheel drive car in the Mustang, and Chevy's got the Camaro, which we obviously know. Front-engine with a V8 and a rear-wheel drive.
Right.
You know, the trucks, obviously, V8s, rear-wheel drive. Which, hey, Toyota actually offers that.
Truck.
Yeah, exactly. But, again, there's nothing... They're going out there and they're putting out a decent product with really good drivers out there. And I really think that these are some of the best drivers that are out there. With all due respect to you guys who are IndyCar fans or Formula One fans, these are the guys who are the top of their sport.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking, whatever series it is that you're talking about.
You can't just go buy a Formula One car on the lot unless you go buy some
granted, but still, these are the top drivers in their sports, and there's not that much difference. We've seen when Jeff Gordon and Juan Pablo Montoya switched Formula One and NASCAR cars. We saw it with Tony Stewart doing that with Lewis Hamilton.
Right.
We've seen IndyCar switches that involve Jamie McMurray, and I think it was Scott Dixon, and that happened at Barber Motorsports Park in Talladega.
Right.
There's not that much difference between the two of them.
No.
Okay? All said and done, what we as the fans are looking for is not to just support a driver, whether it's a Tony Stewart or a Kevin Harvick or a Richard Petty or a Darrell Waltrip or Cale Yarborough or Bobby Allison or whoever the heck that it is that you either did or you currently now are a major fan of. We also want to have that attachment to the car that they drive.
Well, a lot of NASCAR fans are very brand loyal. You know, they want what the drivers want, what the drivers have. We've talked about it on the show. I used to be bad at that. You know, when Kevin Harvick was sponsored by Shell Pennzoil, I used Shell gasoline and Pennzoil motor oil, and it was a Chevy or nothing. And a lot of people are like that, but they want to be their driver.
Yeah, exactly. And we're
yes,
losing.
I want
that
it to be Kevin Harvick.
As we lose the attachment, and the cars have gone so far away from the cars that you could go and buy on the showroom lot. We're losing that you win on Sunday, they sell on Monday.
Yeah, that line is out the door.
That reminds me of something I did last night. I went to a parts store, which I'm not going to.
Yeah, they don't advertise on the show.
Call them out. But while I was working on Sleeping Beauty's car last night, I had to go to this parts store to get some spark plugs. And one of the the burger flippers that's trying to sell auto parts with a computer, and I tell them I want a S43 or R43 TS plug. We sell we don't carry that. That's a Napa plug. I said, y'all don't sell AC Delco plugs? Oh yes, but we don't carry that plug. Can I get you Autolite? I said, no, I don't want Autolite. I'm putting this in. Sure, I won't. So I go back to the commercial back there and get Connie. I said, Connie, I need this number. She's like, Jay, why are you telling me this? Why don't you just go get your own spark plug?
Just walk in and go get them. Hey, what's up? I'm here. I'm going to get my stuff.
They don't have the 43. So I picked up the 45, which I was looking for anyway, the hotter plug. I go back to the guy the burger flipper that's still out there flipping his French fries. I said,
and show them to him.
I said, here you go. He's like, oh. He said, but you asked for 43. I said, I wanted a hotter plug. This is a 45. That's what I got. He's like, well, I learn something every day.
Yeah, but
I'm not surprised.
You can learn, but can you retain?
Yes, that becomes
the next
the
guy
question.
that walked in 5 minutes later probably had the same problem.
Well, and it goes back to the old Jerry. You mentioned Days of Thunder. Jerry Seinfeld had a deal when he was doing the old Seinfeld show of walking up to a car rental counter and going, apparently you don't know how to hold a reservation. You know how to take the reservation. You don't know how to keep the reservation.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to take the information, but can you keep the information becomes the question.
Yes.
Youth movement continues, by the way, in NASCAR. New face running full-time in the trucks this coming season. Rico Abreu, which, by the way, that apparently is the correct pronunciation. It looks like it should be Abreu, but it's Abreu. He's going to drive for Thor Sport Racing in the Camping World Truck Series. 23-year-old, noted for being only 4 feet 4 inches tall. He uses blocks on the pedals to help him reach them. He moves up from the K&N Pro Series East, where he finished 5th in the final 2015 season standings. Won his first race just last year at Columbus, Ohio Motor Speedway. He's got 2 Camping World Truck Series races under his belt. He finished 28th and then 13th. Great to see him. I don't know, and I asked this question before, he has come to the attention of a few people up in the upper echelons of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. I wonder if he's got a development deal, a driver development deal.
Maybe.
Have to find that out.
I just think that this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see this.
I think it's fantastic.
It's great for the sport. It's great for everybody involved. I can't wait to see what he's going to do.
I can't wait. When the 2015 season ended, Michael Waltrip Racing became a was, not an is. That said, the remnants of the racing organization are up for grabs. Going to cost ya. Race shop and the property belonging to Michael Waltrip Racing are up for sale, according to the real estate agency. To put it in your name, $15 million. The grounds total almost 11.5 acres, 2 buildings. The agency states it's currently reviewing bids from potential buyers. They say they expect things to happen by April the 15th.
Could have had it.
We'll get it Monday.
I could have had it.
If you had the Powerball.
Yeah.
Nope.
I had 10 chances. I got 4 numbers total.
Congratulations. Pocono Raceway continuing to upgrade their safety factor. They have plans to install more safer barrier over the next 2 years. Over 6,600 more feet of the steel and foam energy reduction system is going to be installed. And by the time the 2017 season is done, track officials state that the outside walls, including the long straights, are all going to be covered. The track also extended its outer pit wall by 100 feet after no less than 3 sprint cars, 2 in practice and 1 in the race, spun and hit the inner pit wall hard. So at least Pocono's looking out for safety. And they're one of the few independent tracks that's not owned by either the company that helps us out, which is International Speedway Corporation. They own Talladega Superspeedway and others. Then there's Speedway Motorsports Incorporated. No, that's still family owned up in Pennsylvania.
They're doing a good job.
They're separate and they're doing a great job, as a matter of fact. When we come back, got to obviously take this break top of the hour. When we come back, we'll be talking a little more Talladega Short Track. Late model Mark is on hold. And could Rockingham Speedway actually see racing again?
Yes!
We'll talk about that and so much more, as much as we can get to.
Yes.
After we take this break.
The new year is all about starting fresh and with a clean slate. How about this be the year you finally put down cigarettes completely? With Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City, you can do just that. You know you've quit at the end of every cigarette. So let Wild Vapors show you how with vaping. Owners Eddie and Shelley were former smokers themselves. They started Wild Vapors because they knew they wanted to help others lay down cigarettes as well, with their own special brand formula that will help you gradually reduce your nicotine intake to eventually none at all. Their signature formula is mixed in an off-site cleanroom facility with using only the highest quality USP ingredients and leaving out artificial sweeteners and other unnecessary chemicals. Eddie and Shelley have your solution to finally laying down cigarettes. Join the 1,000 others who have found the freedom from smoking with Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and Alexander City. Give them a call at 256-369-2569 or stop by one of their 2 locations in Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
Ryan Newman wins the Goodies Fast Relief 500.
Hi, this is Ryan Newman. Being a race car driver has its perks, yet I can't think of anyone who deserves better service and support than our nation's veterans and service members. That's why VA and DoD have created eBenefits. eBenefits gives fast-track, 24/7 access to the military and VA benefits and information you need most. Go to www.ebenefits.va.gov or just do a search for VA eBenefits.
Brought to you by the Department of Veterans Affairs.
The only show that covers NASCAR, Indycar, and Formula One. The fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
If you're going to honor Dave David Bowie, might as well play a song by David Bowie. And this is, quite frankly, one of the best songs by David Bowie that I could find. Because he did it also with Queen, Under Pressure. Yes. Welcome back into the fastest hour in radio, Superstation 101 WIDE, where you can be a part of the show by calling 941-1011 or toll free 866-551-9933, just like the aforementioned late model Mark from Talladega Short Track has. How are you?
I am fine and dandy. I'm all coffeed up and full of cat head biscuits, courtesy of the missus. So I am ready to go. And let us also not forget that Rico Abreu is the defending Chili Bowl winner with the Golden Driller Trophy, and he's in a pretty good starting spot tonight. Don't forget that's on MAP TV tonight at 7:30. But talking about the Ice Bowl, that was some 3 days I spent out the track. And before I talk about a little bit of that, I would just like to acknowledge your guest on there, Jay. Jay is just becoming such a good friend, and I really like the guy a lot. And he extended some kindness to me. He took me around the golf cart when I needed to check on a few racers, even though he was busy and could use to work on his car. And he offered me some chili in his trailer and to hang out. And that's what racing's all about. And I thank you, Jay, for your kindness last weekend, buddy. I appreciate it very much.
Anytime.
All right, cool.
That's what we do as racers and race fans. Yeah, that's what we do. We look out for each other.
Need a ride or get hungry, just stop by and see me.
There you go.
Or
what do you
thirsty.
got?
Just out of curiosity, I was going to ask Mr. Harmer over there, did you get those sunglasses from Broderick Crawford and Highway Patrol?
I really like the movie. The movie Super Troopers, and I'm channeling my inner Tom Cruise.
I thought they come from Chips.
And that
cool.
too.
I appreciate you guys coming out on Sunday, but we certainly had ourselves some kind of a weekend. And once again, mentioning Jay, he was come Sunday looked like a pinball at a Coney Island slot machine, and he had definitely had some tough luck. Saturday comes out for his heat race, it rains. He's the guinea pig on Sunday morning, first race, and we all know what happened there, and had some struggles, but he did it with a smile. But we had 303 cars entered, 289 made it to the track with definitely makeshift electronics, scoring, announcing, and all that. And the Talladega Short Track staff, along with Professional Motorsport Solution, came through, and the coverage provided by RaceFeed.x was exceptional, to say the least.
Yeah, go definitely look them up and check that out, because that's some good stuff.
You go to their Facebook page, and they've got some clips of the races and some interviews and stuff, and they did a magnificent job. And I had a monitor in the tower so I could watch instant replay of any fracas that developed, and there were quite a few, to say the least. And then there was no guessing. But, we ran 35 races on Sunday. Yeah, we ran late, and there was a whole hell of a lot of cautions. But it was still a wonderful event to see. And, if you saw the late model 50-lap main event, that puppy went all green. There was a terrific battle in the limited late model class, interesting crates. And how about our own Crew Skinner, first time in a super late model, makes the show. I believe he finished 13th. He did go a lap down, but he made the show, and it was some deal over there on the weekend. I'd just like to get your opinion, Steve, and Dustin, what you think of the event.
Oh, fantastic. It was great to see the number of cars that were out there and to see the fans that were out there braving it. As you mentioned, we were out there on Sunday, and despite the fact that it was cold, and it got cold while we were there. I mean, from about 3 to 4 o'clock, you could physically feel the temperature drop, but the fans stuck it out, and they saw some real good racing.
Yeah, but I'd say, my son and I, we got there a little bit earlier than you did.
Than I did, yeah.
And from the time that we arrived, it was warm. It was decent. It was great. It was like, man, it's going to be a great day. And then slowly, you could just feel the temperature dropping a couple degrees per hour. But I'll tell you what, even though little man was cold, we got home after we were sitting at the house, he had such a blast.
Yeah.
That was his first time out at the track. He's ready for more. I, of course, am ready for more.
Hey, y'all forgot about your Saturday night adventure.
We got out there later than what we had planned on.
An adventure.
And then we get out there.
The power was out.
Yeah, and the track was dark, and we're like, okay, what the heck happened here?
We're all amped up. We're driving out there. We pull in. We're going to drive past the track. It's like, why is the track dark? Why are all these people coming out? We're like, okay, well, let's park over here and go find out what's going on. Oh, it's already done for the day. Oh,
the heck was that all about, Mark?
That was a little unfortunate, you know.
We made a good night of it, though. I mean, we went in, we found Jay. Jay took us for a little tour around what was the pits. It looked more like a World War II hospital because there was just no room for anything at all whatsoever. But I mean, it was so cool to see just the massive amount of drivers and trailers, and every place that you could fit something. There was something there, a truck, a trailer, a Winnebago, whatever the case was. There was just no room, and it was so awesome to see that.
Yeah, if you miss out on going to Talladega Short Track, you're missing out on a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
It is quite the spectacle when, like you just said, when you boys pull in and you just see the acres and acres of cars. Once was the parking lot as a makeshift pits, and you guys had to park on Speedway Boulevard or on the airport road. It was just good. Like you said, it was the crowd that turned out Sunday was better than I expected. Like I said, we had some adversities. People don't realize where we had to cook the food and bring it in, and they were selling pizzas from Papa John's. They had 3 cars running back from 3 stores, and we sold out of all our hamburgers and hot dogs, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But it was a tough deal not having our concession stand. But the word I got is that we are going to obviously have a brand new tower. It's going to be at least 3 stories. It's going to be metal. And they're going to start building it real soon. They're just making the final arrangements, and it's expected, hopefully, to be done sometime in March. We're knocking on wood on that deal. But
or metal.
We'll have our schedule coming up pretty soon, and we've got at least 4 Southern All-Star shows, 2 sprint car shows. The Neesmith Series is coming in for 4 shows, and it's going to be real good. And I don't know if I told you the story. Remember Houston Spurlock and Tommy that came into your show earlier this year or last year?
Absolutely.
Well, they pulled a fast one on Houston, a good fast one. On Christmas Eve, they gave him an envelope and opened it up and said, you got to go to your grandma's house. So he goes to his grandma's house. He opens up another envelope. You got to go to this house. He gets to the third house.
Scavenger hunt.
Go back home. And then he goes, you got to open up your trailer. And he opened up his trailer, and he had a brand new late model car sitting in the trailer.
Very
Merry
nice.
Christmas, Houston Spurlock.
Looking forward to that.
That's going to be a great. It's going to be a Neesmith car. That was formerly his Cole Daffern's car.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, at least he's moving up.
Good car, great car.
Well. Hey, Mom, Dad, if you are tuning in right now, this would be a great time to maybe, I don't know, give me one. Just saying.
Mark, where can we find out all the information about this upcoming racing season?
Okay, at TalladegaShortTrack.com. It has the Ice Bowl results. You can go to our Facebook page. It should be updated. But like I said, if you get a chance, go to Facebook and go to racefeedx.com. They got a lot of cool clips, some interviews. I got an interview on there, but they got some of the cars on Saturday that hit the inside turn 1 wall and hit the water and all that good stuff, and it's some good coverage. But once again, Jay, your luck is going to turn around, brother, because you deserve it. And thank you, Steve and Dustin. And I'd like to know where the heck John was Sunday, but we'll let that one go. But thanks, guys, for having a radio show. I got to go throw some chips on the show. God bless. We'll take care of you, buddy.
Take care, man. We'll talk to you soon. I got to get a hold of him sometime this week. John had to work. That's where John was.
I'll tell you what. That was the one thing that I noticed. I don't know if you noticed. I think we talked about it briefly. Was when we got out to the track and just how many people were out there and all the concessions and just seeing all that come together after the tragedy of what happened. That was probably one of the coolest things, seeing all of that in action. Yeah. We heard about it from late model Mark on the phone the previous week when they were doing all this stuff, but seeing it in person was a whole different animal.
Very much so. NASCAR effectively left Rockingham Speedway in North Carolina in the mid-2000s, the Cup Series earlier than that. The France family looked for bigger markets and expansion of the NASCAR brand, and that was a move that angered a lot of the older NASCAR fans. The track struggled ever since. Newspaper report, though, out of the Richmond County Daily Journal in North Carolina, however, seems to show that there's some life that might be breathed into the course. They claim that a company named Level 1 Motorsports is looking to begin a stock car series named X Cup. They plan to run 8 of their 10-race schedule on the 1-mile-long oval of Rockingham. Then Jayski.com got to reporting that there's a series named the Super Cup Stock Car Series that wants to expand out from its northeastern base this year. After years of regional action, the series runs primarily in the northeastern portion of the United States. They have ventured, quote-unquote, as far west as Columbus, Ohio, but reportedly they've been in talks with the current listed owners of Rockingham Speedway about running at least one race there. By the way, the current listed owners, It's a company out of Stuart, Florida called BK Rock Holdings. Hopefully they can keep it going at least long enough to find a viable owner. Sorry,
Yeah.
Andy Hillenberg. And maybe the track will continue because it is a great facility.
Yes, it is.
The goal, by the way, according to Dealing with X Cup and the paper's report, is to field 32 cars per event. James Martin, a spokesperson for Level 1 Motorsports, claims 15 drivers have already signed up for the inaugural season, but he didn't name any names. Martin said that he hopes the racing will begin in April, but did not commit to a date. Last time NASCAR or Rockingham hosted a top-level NASCAR event was 2013. That was the Camping World Truck Series. Ran the second of their 2 races in 2 years at that track, but the track was closed when financial problems hit the owners, and that, of course, mentions former racer Andy Hillenberg. Over to IndyCar Racing, Sarah Fisher, the co-owner of the Verizon IndyCar Series organization, CFH Racing, got back behind the wheel again, participating in this week's Chili Bowl indoor dirt race at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Competed in the sprint car event for the first time last year, finishing mid-pack in about a 300-car field. She hopes to improve on that this year. She qualified pretty well a couple of days ago. She's fielding 2 cars, actually, under a sub-organization for her IndyCar efforts. She named this one Sarah Fisher Racing Development. The second car is being driven by her brother-in-law and former IndyCar racer Kyle O'Gara. The race began Monday, qualifying in elimination heats. It concludes actually later today as we go on the air Saturday morning. Late Model Mark mentioned it. You'll have the results tonight if you get MAV TV on your cable or satellite system. 6 IndyCar drivers announced they will be taking part in a panel discussion hosted by the Arizona Concours d'Elegance. Wow. High-end car show. It's slated for 1 week from today. 6 drivers, all champs in the sport over a 4-decade span of time. The intent that the half dozen will be talking about the Indy 500, how it's changed and progressed over time. The event will kick off Scottsdale, Arizona's Car Week, which will also include the well-known Barrett-Jackson Auto Auction. Drivers taking part include Johnny Rutherford, who won the Indy 500 3 times, 74, 76, and 80. Tom Sneva, who won the Indy 500 in 83. Ari Lyondike, who won the Indy 500 in 1990 and again in 97. Eddie Cheever, the 1998 Indy 500 champ. Dario Franchitti, the 2007, 2010, and 2012 500 winner. All of them, of course, retired. And they will have one current driver on the panel. That's Ryan Hunter-Ray. He won the Indy 500 in 2014. A 7-time Indy 500 racer herself, Lynn St. James, who was the first female racer to be named the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year, is going to be the moderator. So that's pretty much the all-star panel if you're looking for one.
I'd call that one, and definitely.
Also, going to be a new voice this year on race broadcast for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Mark Janes has been named the 2016 Voice of the Sport. States he used to record himself as the lead announcer of his own imaginary Indy 500s, complete with ghost interviews of his favorite drivers back when he was a kid. All that hard work and imagination paid off. He's going to take the microphone for all 16 radio broadcasts, following a select few who have been chosen by the network since it began in the late 1950s. Most recently, those announcers included Mike King and Paul Page. James has been with the IMS radio network since the mid-1990s. He started off reporting from pit lane and turns in varying roles over that time. He's also been the lead announcer of the Indy Lights series for the past few seasons of that feeder series. While James will be the lead announcer, you've got Davey Hamilton, an 11-time Indy 500 participant. He'll be the driver analyst on the radio. They have 6 other announcers reporting from pits and turns, and they'll be on a rotating basis throughout the season. So things do continue to change. To Formula One, president of the FIA, the governing body of Formula One, Jean Todt. He was interviewed at the Autosport International Show in Europe Friday, talked about 2 Formula One related items. First of all, talked about that proposed budget engine that you and I got to talking about last month.
Oh, yeah.
Todt now feels that that's not going to be necessary. Following Ferrari's veto of cost-cutting measures back in October of last year, Todt and Bernie Ecclestone began a push for a budget engine because they wanted to help out the lesser-funded teams in Formula One. However, Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault, and Honda then all banded together, said that they would agree to cooperate and work up an alternative plan for that. The deadline to submit the proposal was actually Friday, yesterday, as we're on the air live. Todt said that it will take at least until Tuesday of the coming week for anything to be decided on said proposal and gave no other details about it. We'll have to wait until next week.
Know something next week.
Hopefully. Todt also talked about his good friend and 7-time Formula One champion Michael Schumacher. Schumacher, of course, injured in the late 2013 skiing accident that, well, it's left him, for all intents and purposes, brain damaged and quite injured.
Yes.
Said that due to his close relationship with the family, it was, quote, painful, unquote, to see him in his current state. And he said that while he does feel for the Bianchi family, there's really no comparison because he only knew Jules Bianchi through his son. And while it was tragic to see Jules die, in some ways what Schumacher's going through is actually harder for him to see because Schumacher is like family to him. He added that he recently met with Pope Francis and asked him to pray for Schumacher. I pray that will hold benefits.
Yes.
Formula One officials have announced, get this is how deep you can go and find information. Formula One officials have announced that their longtime champagne sponsor they've ended their agreement with them. The high-end maker of the fine champagnes, Mumm, which cost the owner, Pernod Ricard, about $5.5 million, or the equivalent thereof, in a season in order for his champagne to be sprayed and drunk on the podium of each Formula One event, was deemed, quote, insufficient by Formula One management, according to reports. It's being thought that Moet, which is another high-end champagne brand, is going to take over as the champagne supplier. $5.5 million for champagne is insufficient?
Who drinks it?
The top three finishers, the podium finishers.
Yeah, but
they all get this humongous bottle, which they shake it up and then they spray it around, and then they'll drink some of it and then pour it over each other's heads.
I'd say several.
Give me the milk.
I'm about to say there's only
I take the milk.
milk. Do the milk.
Yeah, really.
Barely any of that stuff actually gets drunk.
Not really a whole lot, no.
It's more across the girls standing on stage going, don't spray me.
It's more sprayed over the crew members that are down there, the girls, the trophy girls that are there, and each other, and then poured over each other's heads. They really don't drink a lot of it.
You only get some suds when you actually get to the point where you actually go to take a drink.
Citrus water.
Curiosity seems to continue to abound when it comes to the debut of the Haas F1 team and what their cars are going to look like. Rumors, as we detailed here on the show in late 2015, center on the idea of the racers being yellow, kind of a form of a thank you to Ferrari for working with them and providing the engines for the startup organization. So they're going to take the yellow off the emblem of Ferrari and use that, but that's still unconfirmed. We do know the race trucks are not going to be yellow. Pictures from the British headquarters of the team show the colors to be red and silver, the colors of Haas Automation. If you're familiar with the 41 car in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, it'll look a lot like that. Gene Haas's American-based company that helped him get into racing. The car, not going to be shown to the public until February testing. February 22nd, I think, is the date, according to the organization.
That's what I saw. I saw the red and silver.
Yeah. I think it would be a good-looking color.
It would. Yeah. That'd be a sharp.
But, hey, we're not in charge of that.
No.
Things are indeed changing at the Lotus Renault team. Cyril Abitaboul, he's been confirmed as the race team's new director. The Renault Group's head of financial operations, Thierry Cognier, I think that's how it's pronounced, joins the racing organization as well, presumably as Abitaboul's right-hand man. They take the place of Eric Lutz of Genii and the former Lotus F1 investor Andrew Ruhan, who have left the organization entirely. While it's unconfirmed, it does appear that a name change is coming. The Lotus sign has been taken down off the racing headquarters. What the new name will be, it's not been announced. Another change could be related to who is driving for the team. The BBC is reporting due to the current low oil prices around the world, Pastor Maldonado, who is sponsored by Venezuela's state-owned PDVSA oil company, could actually find his sponsorship in jeopardy and therefore his ride too. Renault spokesperson told the paper, quote, "It's speculation at this moment. We have a contract with Pastor. That's the current situation at this moment. We're going forward with him."
That was very vague.
Yes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Then again, we're waiting on Venezuela.
We have a paper.
Nobody knows what Venezuela is going to do.
We're sticking with the paper.
Yes, until we don't stick with the paper and we decide to burn it.
Yeah.
More changes for 2016. McLaren, who stumbled out of the gate in their first year back using Honda engines, the organization has now named a former Volkswagen executive as head of their racing operations. Jost Capito, who leaves his post as Volkswagen's motorsports director to take over racing operations, the role previously held by Jonathan Neal. Neal, by the way, wasn't fired. He was promoted. He's now officially chief operating officer of McLaren Technology Group. Both of them, though, report directly to Ron Dennis, who's the head of motorsports operations. Capito, he's actually got quite the resume. Held executive positions in the motorsports groups of companies like BMW, Porsche, and Ford, in addition to Sauber in Formula One. But he's been with Volkswagen since 2012. He's been spearheading that company's efforts in the World Rally Championship Series. He's actually helped them go to 3 straight titles in that series going back to 2013. Dennis put out an statement announcing the hire, said, quote, "I first approached Jost last summer. I'm certain that he will work extremely well with Eric," who's Eric Boulier, the team principal, and all at McLaren Racing to take the McLaren Honda program forwards toward Grand Prix victories and World Championship success. They needed something over there because while Honda's still trying to work on turning up the wick, I don't think that the Honda engines were the sole problem of why McLaren was pretty much a backmarker in 2015.
Yeah, it's not the only problem. There's a lot more there. I'm sure we'll find out even more as time goes on, but hopefully they've righted that ship.
I kind of like what Manor Marusha's doing. These underdogs that have scored exactly 2 points since they joined the Formula One grid in 2010, they at least appear willing to make their best attempt to climb out of the rut of not claiming any championship points. The team switched engine manufacturers. They've gone from Ferrari to Mercedes for this year. It's a change that couldn't hurt, as with Ferrari engines. Again, they scored only 2 championship points in their 5-year partnership. The team has hired former Ferrari chief designer Nicolas Tombasis, I think, as their chief aerodynamicist. He has a long history of working with several Formula One teams on shaping their cars. He's been with Benetton, McLaren, Ferrari, now Manor Marusha in 23 years in the sport. Spent the last 9 years with the Ferrari team. It's the latest move after them getting under new management. Former team principal and president and the sporting director gone in favor of new employees who all have prior Formula One experience with top-level organizations. That's why I say I like what they're doing. Will it result in anything on the track? That's the big question.
Wow, Steve said like and Manor Marusha in the same sentence.
I know. It's tough. It's kind of like...
Do that real fast.
I almost needed a cattle prod. I don't think I can do it twice. Sahara Force India officials have confirmed that Aston Martin executives said a few weeks ago the company not going to be branding the race team this coming season. Aston officials said that they last month they would not be coming on this year, but they have been expressing some interest in the sport since last July when they actually initially talked to Red Bull Racing, then started looking at Force India. They postponed any decision until the new year. At this time, it appears little more than a sponsorship deal, as the company, paired currently with Range Rover, is kind of a small independent car company again, but they do see benefits within the sport and may revisit the sponsorship idea in the future. Force India's COO, whose name I will not attempt to butcher, confirmed the report but left the door open and said that the two companies are going to continue to talk about a future partnership and simply said these words, quote, "You never know what the future holds." I've said that many times myself. You're going to try it?
No. I don't want to.
He's over there looking at the name and trying to like phonetically trying to pronounce it out.
You know, the first one's easy. It's Otmar.
Yeah.
Schnaufnauer.
Schnaufnauer. I don't know.
Say that your nose.
Schnasfnar.
Need a tissue?
It's like Schnarf from...
Yeah, really. The London Telegraph newspaper reports former McLaren driver Kevin Magnussen is being linked to a team that was at and that team at the Enstone headquarters of Renault. So he may be going to Renault. We don't know. Wow, that all rhymed. It also means he's being talked about in a reserve driver role. Magnussen could also be talking to Manor Marusha about a seat, as that team has yet to confirm their driver lineup for 2016, choosing instead to concentrate on the car and the transition over to the Mercedes engines from Ferrari. The team is confirming through their Twitter account that their 2016 design for their racer, talking about Manor Marusha again, by the way, that's passed FIA inspection and the crash test as well. So they're ahead of where they were last year.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, at least we got that.
You are up above.
I'm happy for Manor Marusha. Wow, I did that twice. Reports out of Italy state that Formula One and the Monza course are close to a 7-year agreement that would keep the Italian Grand Prix at that famed course. The future of the event at the course, or even Italy's spot on the Formula One calendar for that matter, have been in some doubt since reports that the Italian government was talking about lessening their contribution to holding the event. We recently mentioned on the show the Italian government recently passed legislation allowing a private firm to fund the event, so it takes the onus off the government's obligation, so they got that going for them. After the legislation, that there was some thought that Monza could enter into an alternating schedule with another noted Italian course, Imola, but now the Automobile Club of Italy is able to fund the race themselves, and they say that they will keep the race at the Monza course, considered the fastest circuit on the Formula One calendar. It's hosted every single Italian Grand Prix since the inception of the Formula One series, save 1 year. Imola was the host in 1980. Pirelli, by the way, saying they're going to hold a wet tire test. They're going to have McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull on hand. No Mercedes. See ya.
Poof, bye.
Adrian Sutil taking Sauber to court, reportedly seeking the equivalent of £2.4 million because of the seat that he lost just before the 2015 season began. Sauber decided to go with Marcus Ericsson and Felipe Nasser for the 2015 season. That left Guido Vandergaard and Sutil without rides. Sutil's taking it much more personally. Vandergaard's going to run the 24 Hours of Le Mans, by the way. Sutil, as we detailed on the show prior to the 2015 season opener, took his case to court. The two sides reached a settlement, but he's been keeping the case alive. He's seeking compensation for unpaid monies from 2014. The organization told a Swiss court that Sutil failed to deliver on sponsorship deals, promising some $40 million, and welched on it. Despite Sauber's claims of breach of contract on Sutil's part, a Swiss court will actually hear the case. One bit of Formula E news. Formula E drivers Nico Prost and Bruno Senna still some 20 days away from their next scheduled on-track race, but they're going to face off against each other and some fans in a special video game release celebration. You have the Forza 6 game?
No, I do not.
Okay. Well, this is a game for Xbox One, and they are unveiling their first in a series of fan gaming events. They're going to bring the two drivers to London's Xfinity Arena. This is actually an esports arena specifically built for video gaming. They're going to go head-to-head for the fans, and then they're going to race fans in a show that will be streamed online live by Formula E's official Twitch and YouTube channels next Saturday. I don't know what time.
They still got a little bit above them, considering it's Formula E and
sure,
it's electronic.
A little ways to go.
Yeah.
Officials with the NHRA ready to roll out a new campaign trying to attract fans to the motorsports. Along with title sponsor Mellow Yellow, got a new logo that's been introduced. It will use the sponsor's initials and create the slogan, My NHRA. The slogan and new logo design will also feature drivers, team owners, and crew members, along with fans, as the sport moves over from ESPN, where they've been televised on a tape-delayed basis for many years now. They're going to go to Fox Sports 1. Fox Sports 1 promises more live coverage of drag racing. The commercials for the new season, which begins the weekend of February the 11th through the 14th, will feature those aforementioned people, all talking about what the NHRA has meant and means to them, with the logo and the new catchphrase of That's My NHRA at the beginning or the end of their commercials. And Team Coletta has a new primary sponsor. They've signed Sealmaster to a contract for the 2016 season. Company and associate sponsor for several years, moved into a full-time role with driver J.R. Todd and Top Fuel beginning in this, all in the Mellow Yellow drag racing series in 2016. They're going to be an associate sponsor for their other racers as well. So as they expand, they get more sponsorship. So good for them.
Yeah.
Not really a whole lot of racing today. Again, MAV TV showing the Chili Bowl finals tonight. We'll talk about that coming up next week because there are various IndyCar and NASCAR drivers that are involved in that.
Of course.
We're kind of sitting here waiting for a month from now.
Yes. Are you excited, Jay?
I'm excited. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to the guys that helped me last week at the Ice Bowl. Joey Reed, Brad Whittle, Michael Roger.
Well, we want to thank you for hosting us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
See ya!